Welcome, everybody. This is Jim Lee from Climate Viewer News at climateviewer.com and climateviewer.substack.com. The climate clocks are ticking, and geoengineering is the threat. This has become very apparent because of everybody's favorite Darth Vader from I almost said the chemtrail world, from the geoengineering world, David Keith, who just recently posted on MIT Technology Review that we could start geoengineering in as little as 5 years. And anybody who's been following this channel for any length of time, since I heard about the climate clock, you can go back, you can check the tapes. I said, guaranteed, the climate clock is a threat, and geoengineering is the threat. And David Keith just came out and said exactly what I said. So Satan, why does Jim have Satan right at the top? I mean, am I trying to be, am I trying to fear porn? Like what's that all about? Well, it turns out it's a real ass thing. So Andrew Lockley, interestingly enough, if you go to my Substack, if you just go to the Climate Viewer Report, what you're going to see over here on the side is that I have some recommendations. And right here is Solar Geoengineering Updates by Andrew Lockley. Back in 2010, there was this thing called the Asilomar Conference. Link in the live chat, special for you. And at that conference, this was said. And in other words, if the public comes to see geoengineering, as one attendee put it, a crazy idea cooked up by rich Anglo-Saxons to dominate the climate, then we will all be rightfully tarred and feathered. By the way, that's Ken Caldera right there. So, when I see him, literally shilling for changing perceptions of people, hey, let me ask you a question. Global warming's bad. Do you think it'd be cool if we, went up and sprinkled some chemicals in the sky to block out the sun to save us from global warming? Might kill many tens of thousands of people, but we would save more lives than, we did, than the geoengineering. You cool with that? 80% of the people responded, hell no. Ken Caldera says, well, if you framed it in a different way, i.e., if you did mind control on the people that you were asking honest questions, then you might get different results. This is how the government always works with propaganda. You frame the question in a way that you get the answer that you expect. So I literally just said, hey, I'll be there with the tar and feathers. I mean, they had to know exactly what I was talking about. Asilomar Conference Center, 2010, Pacific Grove, California. This was written by Jeff Goodall. And anyway, they knew what I was talking about. This is on yale.edu. So I made that image to put that quote in there, and here's the original reference for the article right there. The point being, it's ironic that Andrew Lockley, who, again, I literally have his Substack up here, okay? This is the same Andrew Lockley that banned me. And he puts out a geoengineering update newsletter, which is a summary of all the different, geoengineering papers. So I do this so that people can see what the hell these people are up to. But Andrew Lockley did a project called Satan last year. And Satan stands for Stratospheric Aerosol Transport and Nucleation. Interestingly enough, right here, researchers launched solar geoengineering test flight in UK last fall. This is dated March 2023. So it was actually fall of 2022. And Andrew, of course, lost his feces when he realized that it had got leaked to the public. Okay. And this is exactly what he said. You can't make this up. Leakers be damned, he wrote in an email to MIT. I've tried to follow the straight and narrow path and waiting for judgment day of peer review, but it appears a colleague has been led astray by diabolical temptation. There's a special place in hell for those who leak their colleagues' work, tormented by ever-burning sulfur, he added. This is the same guy. This is the same mother trucker that banned me for saying tarred and feathered. And he's literally going, look, I did a secret geoengineering project. I named it Satan, Stratospheric Aerosol Transport Nucleation. And I was waiting for it to come out in peer review so that the other scientists could review my study, and somebody leaked it to the press, and they should burn in hell. Burn in hell. I mean, snowflake's gonna snowflake. Back in 2013, David Keith admitted that his plan to block sunlight by spraying sulfur into the stratosphere would kill many tens of thousands of people. Tell him, David.
This is a really important moral point. So if I made a decision, or if there was a collective decision to do a geoengineering program, and you put, say, the kind of program I think makes more sense to put about 1 million tons a year in, but let's say, you might end up killing many tens of thousands of people a year as a direct result of that decision. I think that has moral consequences. I don't sweep it under the rug. So this is a case where I take this much differently from Alan and think it's a much more serious issue. Now, it's true that as part of doing that, you would hope that the overall benefits of human mortality would be so that you would save many, many more people than that. But the fact that you would save more people than you killed doesn't mean there's no moral impact.
Doesn't mean there's no moral impact as he chuckles along. So this is the David Keith. And I go on to say, he's making the same argument that Robert Oppenheimer made. And if you guys haven't seen this previous video, Robert Oppenheimer made the exact same argument about justifying the creation of the atomic bomb. And I'll skip forward to that.
This instrument would never be used in war, and therefore they hoped that we would not start out by using it. On the other hand, they hoped, or other people hoped, that it would put an end to this war, save countless lives, put an end to a butchery that had been going on for many years and had been marked by atrocities, concentration camps, murderous raids on cities, Rotterdam and Dresden and Tokyo itself. And that on the whole we were inclined to think that if it was needed to put an end to the war and had a chance of so doing, we thought that was the right thing to do. We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
So it's too damn similar. It's just too damn similar that the justification for geoengineering is almost identical. to that of, Robert Oppenheimer. I mean, he literally was saying, well, we hope that we would save more lives than would be taken by the bomb. And at the end of the day, there were a lot of lives taken by the atomic bomb, but at the same point, now the whole world's in peril because of your creation. And geoengineering is much the same. If you design it and you say, we know it will kill people, but we hope it will save more lives than will, die as a direct result of what we're doing, you're not learning from the past. I mean, scientists don't ask the question, should we do this? They just ask the question, can we do this? And that's the part of science that really scares me, that our curiosity gets in the way of our ability to reason and think about the long-term ramifications of what we're doing. In fact, even at the Asilomar conference, they recognized that as for the U.S. Department of Defense, forget about it. To this group, such involvement prompts nightmares of a new military-industrial geoengineering complex. They were saying this in 2010, guys. They clearly recognized, even back then, that geoengineering had the potential to be used as a weapon. And Alan Robach made it very clear with his, research that there's 27 reasons why geoengineering is a bad idea. Military use of technology is number 26. And there's only 6 reasons that he could come up with why it's a good idea. So the guy David Keith was sitting across from the table from saying, I got a different opinion than Alan. That's the Alan he was talking about. So at the end of the day, I think these people are crazy. But of course, geoengineering is already happening. And a lot of people, I've seen this a lot in chat. I've seen this a lot in emails and in my Telegram chat, t.me/climateviewer chat, link in the details if you want to join the Telegram chat. A lot of people saying that the sky is brighter, that the sun is brighter. Well, that is geoengineering. That is what geoengineering intends to do, to make the sky brighter to reflect sunlight, not just make clouds. Although we covered it in the last article about making contrail-induced cirrus, making cirrus clouds during the day, not by night, to block sunlight. Geoengineering, like David Keith and all of these guys are talking, Andrew Lockley and Meg Sunsets, what they're talking about doing is making the sky brighter. And that's exactly what Chuck Long said in his presentation. Evidence of clear sky daylight whitening. Are we already conducting geoengineering? And he literally talks about a subvisual, Long suggests that a high altitude ice haze created by water and other emissions, like the metals and the soot and the sulfur, is responsible. I'm talking about a subvisual contrail generated haze of ice, which we do not classify as a cloud, but gives the blue sky a whitish tint. This is turning the sky milky white. You can see this in any location on the planet, especially in America. You can look up and you might have, say on a cloudless day, it'll be deeper blue directly above you. And as you look to the horizon, it'll be milky white. And that's because you're looking through more of the atmosphere. That buildup of chemicals in the stratosphere is geoengineering. It comes from jet exhaust. They're already geoengineering. Every plane on the planet is geoengineering today, by definition. They want to ignore this. The Indian Institute of Science literally said, we found 10,000 black carbon particles in every cubic centimeter, 18 kilometers in the stratosphere, and that given the shape and location of these particles, it could only come from jet fuel. So this isn't even debatable. This is the original source of the article, and this is the scientific paper they published in 2017 about it. And all of these metals are carried into the stratosphere from jet fuel. So, in summation, I previously told you about the airline industry's plans to make clouds by day and none by night in geoengineering with contrails. If you haven't watched the previous video on this or read the article, please do, because I think you'll find it an eye-opener what they're saying. I reiterate that these climate clocks are a countdown marker, that they've set the goal, they've set the deadline, and the goal cannot be met. It will not be met. Nothing will be good enough for these technocrats. I get their arguments for why, they want to blame CO2. But it is the least of the problems. In the order of climate change, it goes like this. What the sun's doing. Galactic cosmic ray formation of clouds, water vapor, then greenhouse gases. Period. This is like third grade stuff. And they want to focus on the smallest part. 300 parts per million. Like less than 1% of what the atmosphere is filled with. Ignore water vapor, ignore clouds, ignore what they're doing to the stratosphere, all the metals. They want to ignore all of that and focus on CO2. And the reason why is if you go and I'm going to plug it. You know why? Because I love the guy, and why not? Right here in the very first article, very first paragraph, technocrats. I thought about what should I link for technocrats, and I wanted to link to this. Technocracy Rising, the Trojan Horse of Global Transformation by Patrick Wood. And the reason... Oh, I can barely reach it. And the reason I did this is because once you understand technocracy and what its roots are, and you understand that there is a movement to have a global cabal of technical experts that are unelected bureaucrats to run every aspect of your life. And guess what their single monetary global unit would be? A unit of energy. That would be CO2. That's why you hear carbon taxes, carbon credits, carbon-based money. Central bank digital currency, probably based on energy and CO2. It all goes back to the banksters, and the banksters go back to the technocrats and the technocracy movement. It's my firm belief. All the lines point back to a singular source, and Patrick Wood nailed it in this book. If you've not read it, I suggest you do. I don't get anything from you buying Patrick's book, but I met him at G. Edward Griffin's conference, Global Warming and Inconvenient Lie, where I gave a presentation, and the man, the myth, the legend, technocrats. They're the problem. So more people need to know. Sharing is caring, so that's how you can help. And never doubt that a small group of dedicated individuals can change the world. In fact, they're the only thing that ever has. Love you, mean it, guys. See you on the next one.